Just get yourself a bottle, mate, and just.
Hello, everybody. It's Oz Property Investors on a Wednesday night. Sorry, Rob. We bring the big names and we bring the big fun. How you going out there in Facebook lands? Throw your comments, throw your questions, throw everything. We like everything. We like most things, actually. That's a bit funny way to introduce. So how you going, Rob?
Mate, I am fantastic, Jeff. And Joe, thank you for the invite. It's great to have a chat with you guys, I guess, live, but I've chat to you guys, I guess, plenty of times in the background. So, and good to meet your audience, mate.
It is. How about yourself, Joe? How are you going?
Mate, I'm fantastic. I'm super pumped to have Rob, the legend that is Rob Flux. Not only do you have the best property development group in Australia, you also have the best property name, Rob Flux. I just love that as a last name. It is the best name.
Here's a bit of trivia for you, boys. So Flux is the single word in the English language with the most amount of definitions. So it is magnetic flux, it's liquid flux, it's soldering flux, it's state of flux. There is so much going on with flux, mate. I don't even know where to start.
Wow. Was that your party trick when you're a single bloke back in the day, where you're like, ladies, I'm so versatile?
No, because back then I was usually 3 sheets to the wind, and when you're drunk and you're slurring, saying the word flux does not get you very far.
Oh yeah. Oh, well,
Rob does flux.
I love it. That's amazing. That's good times. Here we go. We already got off to a fun
How are you,
start.
Jeff? How's your day, mate? Most importantly.
I'm training, so it was meeting filled day, and I didn't get I just sat in front of a screen and looked at a whole bunch of people tell me things, and I'm like, okay, great. When do I actually get to do stuff? Let me do things. Let me break some things. So that's what my day was mostly all about. What else aside from that? Just did some things in the background as well, of course. So always fun times. So, but
admin, mate. That's what it's all about. But what it's all about tonight is property development, and I'm keen. We've called this one the Rob Masterclass, the Development Masterclass, and I have a feeling that's exactly what it's going to be. So I am pumped for this.
I'll do my best not to let you down, mate.
No pressure.
Yeah, Rob, what's your life hack? We have life hacks for our guests, and I don't think we've ever started with a guest first, but I think you've got one good.
I do have a life hack. So firstly, everyone needs to have goals. We all state that we've got them, but very few of us actually do anything towards them. So my life hack is to do one thing towards your goal every single day. It could be a single phone call. It could be a single email, a single text message. If you do one thing every single day, then you have no choice but to move towards your goal.
I like that. Yeah, I'm all about it, because that's what goals do, right? If they're not like, what do they call them? Smart, specific, measurable, attainable, whatever the thing is. You just don't.
Whatever the thing is. Well, let me guess.
I don't do mine daily. I am trying to. After we had Karen on last week, and she was a big thing with goal setting, and I'm all about it now. I understand the value, and if you're not taking those little tiny chunks, you're not going to make it. I love it.
Well, I'll give you a second tip. Rather than goal setting is fantastic. Goal setting takes fantasies and turns them into actual actionable items. But until you do something with that goal and turn it into an action plan, then it will never actually move forward. And until you actually action the action plan, then you're going nowhere. So I guess a dream written down becomes a goal written down becomes an action plan, an action plan actioned becomes reality.
Wow, there you go.
That's what we're all about. Bit of reality there.
I'm gonna go back and look at and watch that part and actually just say how am I executing all these kind of things, because I hear it all the time, but I need to probably do it more regularly. All right, and let's hold you accountable, Joe. I'm going to send you a message first thing in the morning from now on and ask you how your goals are going, or how our goals are going.
I'm up at 5:30 every morning, doing the 5 a.m. club thing. So I'll let you know how that's going. You can text me. You'll be fast asleep.
Hang on, Joe. I'm up at 5:30 a.m. doing the 5 a.m. club.
Yeah, well, we're building up to it.
Come on.
He's already late.
So, like, he's half
You
an
called
hour
me
late.
out. I'm late to the 5 a.m. club. Well, I did the 5 a.m. club, and I was like, this really is too much. Why do I need to be up this late? So I've made it the 5:30 club. But the book's not called the 5:30 club. But, sorry, Robin Sharma.
It needs to be now.
Like, you can write that book, Joe, the 5:30 club. I'll buy it.
I tell you what does help me. My life hack does help me to get up at 5:30, not 5. So if you're trying to get up at 5 p.m., don't listen to me. 5 a.m. rather. Is the night mode on your phone? That is my life hack. You just pop it on night mode, and it goes to sleep, and nothing bothers you. Jeff doesn't send you messages.
I've got better than that, my friend.
What have you got?
Well, you've got a crappy old Apple device, and so you have to manually turn on night mode. If you get yourself an Android, you can actually schedule it so it turns on automatically for you, and then you don't have any choice.
Okay. Well, there you go. I do want to just say I have mine set up for 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. I've got it ordered. You can, for all those poor Apple people out there that have just crushed dreams, Rob, we've got you. We've got you. We can still do it in Apple. So, Jeff, what about you, mate? We always do this. We always chat about these bloody life hacks, and we end up 20 minutes into the show, and then we miss all the good, juicy questions at the end. And I know Rob's got nothing but value to share. So, Jeff, what is your life hack, mate?
I pretty much stole yours, but mine's better than yours, Joe. So mine's constantly in silent mode. But I have something better than that though. So my phone is always on silent. So you will not. And don't get me wrong, I still get distracted. But the hack that I have though is if somebody really important calls me, if I've got your number saved in my phone, then it'll play. So there's a bit of an issue with this. You can see if somebody tries to call me at 2 a.m. then that is in my phone, and it's got me. If somebody goes out for a big night Saturday night, and I don't do many. I mean, we can't go out for nights. Who knows when we'll be able to do that ever again. But on to other topics. So somebody's had a big night. They think, who am I going to call at 2 a.m.? I'm going to call Jeff, and they call me, and I'm like, what are you calling me at 2 a.m. for? And I'm like, well, you got to put your phone on silent. So my life hack though is.
What a story.
I'm able to focus because I'm not getting pinged. Oh, here we go. Thanks, Rob. You were, and there you go. It's it works. We are live. It is. I'm not going to answer that one because
that was me calling Jeff. I'm just trying to see if I'm important in his life.
Yeah. I saved your number. So that there we go. That was exciting, wasn't it? You called me out.
That was exciting. There you go. We know it works. Yeah. Okay, well, for the people that don't know, Jeff, who is this Rob bloke, and why should we give a flux?
wait, you got to preheat, Joe. Don't we do the sponsor before the intros, don't we?
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay, are we ready for our sponsorship?
Joe's so out of flux, it's not funny. So, here you go. Then I have to make him big.
Yeah, and you have to. There you go. You've done well, mate. We've done well.
Yeah.
Let's talk about commercial property investing. It's one of those areas that confuses many people, probably because of the risks involved, but it's also one of the few asset classes that can give you a very positive cash flow from day one. With commercial property, you get some massive net yields of 6 to 10%. Now, that's not gross, that's net, which means it's cash in your pocket. This is what makes them so amazing. Your property can actually pay itself off within 10 years, grow in value, and without having you to chip in any cash at all. Now, with big rewards comes some big risk, which is why you should de-risk your investment as much as possible. The way you do this is with expert due diligence. This is why we highly recommend hiring professionals to help you along in your investing journey. Steve Polisi of Polisi Property is one such expert. He is one of Australia's top commercial property buyers agent. With his own multi-million-dollar property portfolio of a mix of commercial and residential, Steve has over 1,200 property transactions under his belt. He is the guy you want in your corner, crunching the numbers, finding the best properties in the best location, along with the ways to avoid the dud properties. Steve has even been the one to write the book on commercial property investing in Australia, and it's a bestseller. He's been generous enough to give us a massive discount to our audience of 50% with the code OZPROP. Click the link below, get a copy today, and start your commercial property investing journey.
Thank you, everybody. There's Joe's big heads. So we are back. So I'm going to give. I think I might have to disclaimer that ad as well, Joe. I'm a bit worried. Anyway, that's beside the point. But so yeah, that's not financial advice, folks. But onto the man of the hour. So I wanted to give you an intro. You started your property journey was in two sort of halves. You had from the sort of the start where you were doing mostly buy and hold, and you tell us about that, and you rebuilt it after that. So you're the Phoenix Flux, I could even say as well. You've come up from the ashes, and I love my cricket as well. So the ashes, the cricket fans out there. So, but more than that though, as well, you run a business of 12,000 people, 12,000 plus, over 12,000 people. So you started off on the kitchen bench, and I love that. I love how you tell that story. It's very authentic, and you're a guy who just wanted to kind of help other people, and now you kind of run a whole. You have a whole conglomerate of companies under the Property Development Network. So you've been able to create, and I've been to many of your meetups. Unfortunately, not as many in person recently, but it's amazing to see how you've even grown from when I think I first saw you in about 2017. So I think you're now coming up to your 9th birthday as well. So you are a heavy hitter.
Thank you, mate. I appreciate that. So, yeah, you're right. So, two halves to the journey, mate. So, and I don't quote me on the math, but 38 odd years in property from the start. So, I bought my first property at the age of 18, my first investment property at the age of 21, and owned my first house outright at the age of 24. So, it was very much right from the beginning, mate. So, yeah.
Very quick.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I get amazed every time I hear that 38 years, because you don't even look older than 38. So did you bought your first property?
Thank you, my friends.
But you bought your first property at about sort of 2 or 3 years of age, did you perhaps?
No, at the age of 18. Yeah, the lack of hair is reflective of the reality of what's actually happened in my life, mate. So. Bought my first house off mum and dad, as strange as it might sound. So I was very entrepreneurial when I was younger. So used to be a trolley pusher, used to deliver catalogs in people's letterboxes, that sort of thing. Saved myself quite a bit of a nest egg. And I was preparing to move out. And mum and dad said, well, rather than move out, we can't really help you if you do that. What if you stay here, you buy the house off us, and we'll pay you rent? So I was a landlord at the age of 18. Mum and dad were my tenants. Mum would still do the cooking, still do the cleaning. I would go out at 7 o'clock at night, come home at 7 a.m. in the morning, sleep all day, and then do it again until I'm going to say, at the age of about 19, mum and dad kind of sat me down and went, hey, son, this lifestyle that you're living, it's not really doing you well. And I went, and I distinctly remember this moment, Jeff. It was, it's my house, it's my rules. Right? So mum and dad promptly looked at each other and went, well, I think it's time for us to leave. And at that point, I actually worked out what property was all about. Had to fund my own way quite heavily. I subleased all the rooms in my house. So I went rent per room at the age of 19.
You're rooming. You got a rooming house going. You're doing it before everyone else even thought about it.
And got myself back into positive cash flow. Then for those of your audience that are old enough to remember, I guess, the recession that we had to have when Paul Keating was in charge, interest rates went up to 17%. It got really hairy there for a while, but managed to claw my way through that and come out the other side doing pretty good.
And from memory, because I've heard parts of that sort of story, and you and I could go back probably at least 4 years, maybe even 5 years. I remember at the time I was on the way into the city on the train, and I was having a chat with you, and you were dropping some absolute wisdom, and it sort of put me on my place in terms of developing, and I remember that because I remember these little parts of my journey. But from memory, your first property was up in Darwin, was it? Or was it somewhere else?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So grew up in Darwin. So I'm a New South Welshman by birth. So do support the Blues, despite living here in Queensland. And grew up 33 years in Darwin before relocating down to Brisbane. So
are they Darwinites? Darwinites? Like, is that what? How do you call it?
Well, Darwinites or Territorians.
Oh, Territorians, yeah. Or you could be a Darwiner, maybe not a Darwiner. Is that not a thing?
Well, a Darwinian. We try to stay away from the Darwinian type things because of the old. I'm trying to think of the
Darwin
I'm trying to think of the there's a Darwin awards for stupidity. So if you want to have some fun, Google Darwin awards for stupidity, and you'll be entertained for weeks. So
yeah, that's something I talk with friends about a bit. Actually, the Darwinian awards. So yeah, Joe, kick us off with your question. On my first, Rob's already answered my first question. So
my first question, I always like to ask this question as the first is, what book are you reading, Rob? What book are you currently reading? It's always insightful to see what people.
Okay, so I'm going to have I'm going to be very vulnerable to you guys. I'm slightly dyslexic. I don't read a hell of a lot. Most of my knowledge comes from real world, actually down in the trenches doing it. So I can read, absolutely. It's not that I can't. I've read many, many books, but I tend to read them very slowly. But I like the classics, mate. So if you look at the back there, you've got, I guess, the Napoleon Hill Think and Grow Rich. You've got, I guess, the Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad, all of the classics. I like to read those. More on mindset, I guess, trying to get your head in the right space, because if your head's not in the right space, you won't actually take the right actions.
Yeah, well, you've actually probably mentored thousands of people in the property space. How big is mindset, and how for the ones that have succeeded and the ones that haven't? How big is it?
Well, everyone will argue with regards to the percentages, but it's at least 50% of the game. So having knowledge is great, but knowledge without action is not knowledge at all. Okay, so you need to actually take the action, and in order to take the action, we have all these headspace things that get in our way. We put roadblocks with limiting beliefs. You know, I'm not good enough. Fear of failure, fear of success. Nobody will ever go for it. All those sorts of things and it just stops us from taking the action. So if you get over the headspace, then you take the action. And then when you take the action, what you find out is that you learn from the result, either good or bad. And that education then turns into wisdom. And with wisdom, you can then apply that better and, I guess, amplify your success.
It's so true. Like, I remember reading all the books that you're talking about, right? And then you'd read the renovation book and you would just devour it and you'd love it. You keep going backwards and forwards, but nothing actually teaches you more about renovation than doing a renovation. You don't realize how much of a difference it actually makes. And yes, you might make a couple of mistakes along the way, but those are the ones that actually teach you something. So I wanted to talk about your first development. Can you give us a bit of an understanding, because you've got, or should we start with a portfolio?
Can I ask
I'm skipping ahead.
You don't just kind of go, okay, I bought a property at 18 and now next minute I'm doing developments. Like, there's something missing here, I think. I mean, maybe you do. I don't know. You probably could. But I would say what I'd love to hear in a nutshell, and probably a couple of minutes, or as many minutes as you want to, really. We could state you've got a whole bottle there. Not that I'm saying that I probably shouldn't give you away there. But I
might send in, because this could take a while, mate.
That's the second one.
I kind of want to go and grab another beverage myself, actually. But so to my question, what did you learn from? Well, tell us about your buy and hold journey, and what did you learn from that?
Okay, so having said that, I don't read a lot. One of the books that I did read very, very early on was a book by a lady by the name of Jan Summers, and Jan is one of the very first educators out there in the property realm, and I can't remember the exact name of the book, but it was Building Wealth Through Property Investment, something along those lines.
Yeah.
And it was teaching all about negative gearing. So, of course, that's what I did, right? So went and negative geared the hell out of myself and kept hitting a whole bunch of glass ceilings with regards to...
Was it this one?
I was trying to figure out what Joe was doing.
My copy actually had her picture on it, mate, and it was a lot older and more tatty than that.
That 70s hairstyle and everything. 90s rather.
So 90s. It was that made me go buy my first investment property at the age of 21. So that was quite a fortuitous purchase. I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. And I just happened to know the area quite well. I knew the opportunity, but I didn't understand market dynamics. I didn't understand economics. I didn't understand, demographics and all the good things that should be telling you whether you should get capital growth. I just knew it was a nice area, right?
Which area was it? If you...
I bought it. It was a unit that I purchased, not a house, so not much land content to it at all. But it happened to overlook a beautiful foreshore in a place in Darwin called Nightcliff. So you could watch all the beautiful people go past in their Lycra on their bikes, and it was a beautiful spot. And I used to drive past it every single day because it was just around the corner from where I lived. And so I'd drive past and go, "Oh, look at my house! Isn't that beautiful?" So I felt like the king of the world. And as luck would have it, the market worked for me. So, the market doesn't move often, but when it does, it moves swiftly. And so I managed to make quite a lot of money out of that particular property and sold it 18 months later for enough money to almost pay out my first house outright.
Wow.
Now, in fairness, guys, this is going back in the day. So, I paid full retail price for my house and it was $55,000, right? So if I could buy houses like that again, I would love to. So I made about $38,000 ish out of that transaction in 18 months.
Wow.
Sold it, and then very quickly learned my very first valuable lesson in property investing, and that is, what is capital gains tax?
It wasn't a pre-CGC purchase. Sorry, no, you're not. Yeah, as I said, you're definitely not. Yeah.
No, it was definitely capital gains taxable. I did everything humanly possible to prove that it wasn't, but no, alas. But luckily for me, I was on a very low income, so my tax bracket was pretty low. So capital gains, whilst it hurt, didn't hurt as hard as it could have. I guess later in my career when I was earning a lot better income. But it made me pay attention and went, hang on, there's actually rules to this, there's science to this, I need to be a little bit more diligent. And rather than that haphazard approach, I then started to put a little bit more rigor into the process and looking at where to buy, what to buy, that sort of thing. I did about 20 years of buy and hold.
Wow.
Negative gearing works really well, guys, but it's very slow, and you keep hitting these glass ceilings with regards to having to wait for the market to lift your capital, having to wait for, I guess, wage growth in order to improve your serviceability. And so there's only so many properties you can buy when you've got those glass ceilings sitting above you.
Well, now this was back in a time when borrowing money was a lot easier. Nowadays, you're looking at 3, 4, 5 kind of properties before you hit that ceiling of being able to go on. You can't just buy 10, 15, 20, 30 properties on a standard wage anymore.
Yeah, but it was also at the time when we're talking anywhere from 8 to 17% interest rates, not 2% interest rates. And so, you know,
so the banks didn't care because you're not going to reach that height of being able to afford those type of properties.
So I guess it got to the point where, as slow as it was, after 20 years, I was in a position where at the age of 38, mathematically, I was able to retire. And regrettably, at the age of 37, I got divorced. And which means that you kind of get all your chips and you put them back in the middle and you go, well, let's divvy those up and let's start again.
Jesus.
Yeah, there's so
Correct.
So much I could unpack there. I mean, I wouldn't say it's unfortunate you decided to get divorced. I mean, all the money in the world it wouldn't be worth if you're not happy in a situation. I would say so. And you're probably I know you're very happy now. I'm sure.
Sure, let's go with that. No, of course, absolutely. And mate, you can never regret anything that you've done in the past. You can only learn from those experiences. And I guess there's plenty of lessons that I've taken out of that in both my property journey, I guess my how I deal with relationships and a whole bunch of other things. So a very different man to what I was back then.
Yeah. Before we go into Joe's question, what sort of metrics were you able to sort of glean from the buy and hold kind of approach? What kind of, you said demographics, I can't remember the other sort of things you mentioned, Kels.
And how did you get that data as well? Like, what data were you measuring, and how did you actually find it?
So going back then, now guys are genuinely like. This lack of hair is because it was people like me that invented the internet. I did 20 years of IT. The internet didn't exist. Those sorts of research stats, they weren't around. And so you were relying on, I guess, anecdotal reporting of, what is the media saying? And, ABS release stats every 2 or 3 years. And, so it's very slow growth at that point because you're, I guess, educated guessing, I guess, where the market's going. And you've got to look at, I guess, drivers like, well, what is the state government and what is the local government doing in the area with regards to infrastructure projects, and what's the unemployment rates and all those sorts of things. So you pay close attention to unemployment rates, you pay close attention to interest rates, you pay close attention to projects that are happening in the area, and you're looking at that as your indicators as to how the market is going. What I have since learnt in the property development realm is every single one of those are looking backwards. Exactly. And what we instead need to do is start looking forwards and start to use our crystal ball to start to predict where do we think the market's actually going.
Did you bring your crystal ball tonight? I love when Ian Ugarte talks about that when he says it's cracked or something. It's the crystal ball. It's
how do you get the crystal ball out now? How do we look forward at the data? Maybe not a crystal ball, but how do you look forward? And you're saying let's not look back, but let's look forward. How do you look forward?
So there's a whole bunch of things that go into this, and it's a little bit of a black art. Okay, so because we're trying to predict the future is always changing, and with every market shift and that sort of thing, we have to be very nimble in everything that we're doing. So we have to look at population growth. What are the drivers that create population growth? We have to look at where is that population growth actually happening. We have to look at what the state government is doing with regards to major infrastructure projects to encourage that population to move into particular areas. We've got to look at what the local governments are doing in order to receive those people into those areas and whether or not those areas are actually ready for it. We've got to look at the same things that we were talking about before with unemployment rates and interest rates and things like that with regards to affordability. We've got to look at supply and demand and see whether or not just because there is demand in the area, perhaps other people can see the demand and have created too much supply and there's an oversupply. So there's a whole bunch of metrics that go into it. If you measure each one individually, it's very hard to give an actual score, but what you can do is get a sense of, well, if everything is going up, then the market is about to go up. If everything's going sideways, then the market's going to stay flat. And if you've got a little bit of everything, then, you know, the market's probably not going to move. So I have a view on the world, which I'm sure you want to hear at some point as to where we're going, but yeah.
Should we get into the
Yeah, I want to hear. I want to hear the view on the world of where we're going to go.
So my crystal ball, guys. So and I've been quite public with my crystal ball announcements, going back. I'm going to say 2 or 3 years in actually starting to predict where I think things are going to go in public forums. But
did you predict COVID though?
I didn't predict COVID, but I predicted what was going to happen to the market in COVID. So when COVID happened, because all of the dynamics of the property market were pointing in the right direction, and then you have an unrelated event that occurs. Okay, so we know that the fundamentals were strong, and so the market wasn't going to collapse. I guess the big four banks were predicting anywhere from 20 to 30% market drops. Okay, that was never going to happen, and the reason why it was never going to happen is because the federal government was never going to let it happen, because our entire economy is based on how our property market's going. So it was inevitable that the federal government was going to provide incentives like JobKeeper and JobSeeker and the like to keep us afloat, home builder, etc. And so the federal government kickstart the current boom that's happening with an artificial driver. Okay, so that artificial driver was the home builder package. The home builder package created this giant rush of first homeowners wanting to get into the market and go, well, I can finally get in with very low money in. I can get myself a brand new home. It's going to be fantastic. And then as humans, we are like sheep and like flock animals. When some people start running in one direction, everyone starts to follow. And so we created an artificial boom, right? That's not based on any of the fundamentals sitting underneath it. It's based on those government incentives, which have now stopped. So it is inevitable that we are going to slow down, and we are slowing down right now. And if you watch what some of the property economists are predicting, they're seeing it slow down and that sort of thing.
Who are some of the ones? Who should we listen to?
Yeah, that's what I was about to ask. I was like, who do you respect, Rob? Oh, yeah. You have an economics degree though, Rob, or would you consider yourself an economist?
No, I do not have an economics degree, Jeff. So,
doesn't mean
so you can put that caveat on there. This is not financial advice.
Yeah, this is not an economic advice.
They all mostly get it wrong anyway. So, but
this is common sense. This is common sense, guys. The biggest things that we've got for us, unemployment. Unemployment is coming back to, I guess, relative normality. We're actually in a better position than we were previously, although we've changed a lot more permanent to part-time and casual type work because of the fact that we're opening and closing our doors all the time, so nobody knows what's there. So employers can't rely on that. So that's challenging. Our interest rates are at rock bottom. Like if you're wanting a lever to kickstart the economy, interest rates is one of those. So there's interest rates and printing money. They're the two levers that the government has got. Government has dropped interest rates to 0.1% cash rate, and they've gone from a zero debt economy to billions in debt. We're probably more in debt right now than anything before because they're just trying to stimulate the economy and just pump money in. So they're pushing us forward, okay? The thing that's stopping us going really forward is the fact that we don't have population growth. Now, population growth is driven by borders, okay? Our largest population growth is international migration. The borders are shut, and unless and until we all get vaccinated and they open the borders, then we are going to slow down and stagnate because the fundamentals are strong, but the demand is not there, okay? As soon as they open the borders, the demand will come back and we will shoot off like a rocket.
Okay.
There you go. It's
on.
So that's not like there's no bad. I don't see any bad in that. I feel like we're in a boom right now, and obviously we cannot sustain 5-6% growth per month, which is understandable. So it's going to slow down, and then we open the borders up, and then we boom again. Property is a great little thing. The gift that keeps on giving.
If only we had money, right?
Oh.
And hence the. I guess the biggest lesson I learned when transitioning from property investing to property development, property investing was very much reliant on how much money do I have? Because if I don't have money, I can't buy anything. Property development, because that's taking a long-term view. Our bank is saying, well, you're going to have this property for 20 or 30 years. You need to actually understand, can you afford to pay it off? Property developing is a very different game, though, because we're taking a short-term view. So how can we manufacture our profit? And because we're taking a short-term view, then we can actually create some really, really interesting terms with vendors, really interesting terms with JV partners, really interesting terms with commercial lending and all sorts of things where they go, I'm not so interested in what your revenue is, what your income stream is, but I'm more interested in the deal. Does the deal make sense? And if the deal makes sense, people will throw money at you. And so you can materialize money out of thin air in order to make a deal work if the deal is a good deal. And that's the difference, guys, is if you've got nothing to start with, it's really hard to get into the property investing world. But if you manufacture your profits, then you can get in. And not only can you get in, but you get in at wholesale rates, not retail rates, because you are manufacturing the profit.
So for someone starting out in property, we've got a lot of first timers, we've got a lot of people with big portfolios. If someone's like, okay, we've just joined Oz Property Investors, the best community on Facebook for property investors.
For investors, yeah. For investors, you're right.
How do we get
there's one I own.
The developers, they're over there.
Yeah, property development network, yeah.
Absolutely. But can they just walk straight into development, or should they, get their toes wet? Yes, yeah. So hell no. No.
If a surefire way to blow yourself up is to listen to any real estate agent that tells you that it's developable and just go and buy it. 90%, 90, folks, 90% of all development sites are not profitable. And you need to put a hell of a lot of knowledge and effort into understanding which are the 10%. The primary difference between investing and developing, investing takes a very passive view on the world. You do a small amount of effort, you buy, and you let the market do the heavy lifting, okay? Property developing is a very active approach. You need to have knowledge, you need to have skills, you need to have time, you need to put effort into the process in order to manufacture the profit. You don't just walk in and buy anything and magically money comes back. You need to actually be good at what you do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not just a little bit at the beginning and then it's freedom and you've got a whole year of just waiting around until it grows. It is constantly working on that deal and continually
do the deal.
So I'll slightly correct that. There is effort and there's duration. So the duration might be, depending upon the size of the deal, anywhere from 3 months to 3 years, depending upon the size and complexity of the deal. But the effort may not be the same. So over those 3 years, you might put a month's worth of effort in, 2 months worth of effort in, right? But it's just drip fed over the process. I go to a 1 hour meeting and I get consultants to do 3 weeks worth of work. That's great, right? Then I do another 1 hour meeting to review their work. That's the kind of process, but you need to understand what it is that you're reviewing. You need to understand the instructions you're giving them, those sorts of things. So effort and duration are different, which means that you can run multiple projects at a time. subject to your ability to, I guess, A, find the deals, and B, fund the deals.
Yep. Yeah, that's before we kind of dive a bit deep into the development pool, let's it's something that I think a lot of people, or some people, did ask, and I was curious as well. How did you learn about, I think I know the answer to this, but how did you learn about development? Like, what was your kind of first foray into development? Tell us about
that. Well, let's start with a definition of what development is. Okay, so it's the ability to force value onto the property. Okay, so there are a ton of different development types. A renovation is a development because you're forcing value on. Okay, there's cash flow strategies, there's cash cow strategies, there's all sorts of elements in that. So it took me a little while to kind of work out which strategy I actually wanted to go with.
Yep.
It also took me a while to work out which ones will scale and allow me to grow as my knowledge and skills grow. But whilst I was going through that phase, I went and paid, I'm almost ashamed to say, probably in the vicinity of 120 odd K of money towards educators, many of which in hindsight I would say were spruikers, and I guess walked away with a lot of motivation to achieve, a lot of hype, but not a lot of knowledge and content. You know, there was a lot of, you can do it. Just go out and put some offers in and you'll be fine. And there was not a lot of how-to. And so I guess I had quite empty pockets at the time. I found a number of mates with very empty pockets equally, and we all kind of looked at each other and went, well, none of us know everything, but collectively we probably know something. I had read one of those books behind me, Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, and it was all about the concept of masterminding. And so we put together 5 mates around that kitchen table, and we were masterminding. How do we solve each other's problems and issues, and how do we push each other forward? Very much with a pay it forward approach. How do I help my mate? And if I help him, he will help me.
So just before we move on, what are those 5? Like, if you were to paint the picture of what these 5 guys are, what were the characteristics of each other, and how did you complement each other's skills?
There wasn't that much science to it back then, Joe. I'd love to say that there was.
I was thinking like there's an architect, there's an accountant, there's a
They all
wanted to make money, Joe.
We were all people that I'm going to say had shared a similar journey where we had dabbled in property investing. We had found property investing was working but was very slow. We were finding these handbrakes that was stopping us from accelerating, and we wanted to go faster. So that was the commonality between all of us. But we came from different trades. There was nothing in common from that perspective. We didn't try to say, well, one person's strong here and one person's weak. None of that happened. It was more, well, we've got a common issue. How do we help each other do that?
Are you still in touch with a lot of those with all those guys?
I'm still in touch with all of them. They're not all in property development anymore. One of them is super mega successful to the point where they're too busy to take my call half the time.
I'll still take a call, Rob. When I'm I promise.
2 a.m.
I just proved that before, mate. So a couple of them have just decided that property development, whilst they understood it and whilst they recognized it was a good medium, it wasn't something that they wanted to do from a day-to-day perspective. So they have become money partners in other people's deals. So they understand how to assess a deal. They will happily invest in deals, but they don't want to do the effort. I guess one person has just completely fallen off the bandwagon, and then there's me. So Yeah.
You've gone deep in the development space. Well, this is kind of what I liked. This is kind of why I wanted to have you on, is because the information and content that you put out is the opposite of what you grew up on when you went through the process. Yours is very pragmatic, and it actually looks at results and key metrics that you actually want to be tracking and keeping on top of. So that's awesome that you're doing that. So I just wanted to kind of acknowledge you for that work.
Thank you, Joe. Yeah.
Should we before we really dive further and deeper into the do you want to second sponsor, Joe? We're 45 minutes in. Should we get it before we get too deep into development?
We should definitely. My little face is going to change. Sorry, guys.
What have you? It's like Joe's got the Death Star here. What's going on? Here we go.
Hello.
Oh, Joe. Oh, that's not Joe. Sound.
Today, he is negotiating with real estate agents to get the best price for his clients. To give you a bit of a background, Scott has been working in real estate since 1995, and as a real estate agent, built up 3 Bell franchises. He was the guy teaching the agent all the tips and tricks to get the most out of the buyers. However, Scott realized that there was actually no one on the side of the person buying the property, and he saw them constantly letting emotion get in the way and paying way over for the property. And that's why he created Hello House, Australia's first property negotiation as a service business, where he is on the side of the buyer. In hot markets like we have now, you need absolutely every single edge that you can get. These agents are trained professionals, and they are there to get the most money out of you, which is why you need to have an expert of your own in your own corner. The way it works, you find the property, then Scott will come in at the negotiation phase and take over for you. This is how you'll get the property for its true value. He'll ensure that you don't overpay. He comes in, knocks the real estate agent down on price. No more agent games, no more tricks, no more tactics. He is there for you. Scott has been kind enough to offer us an amazing discount on his service, and I've personally just seen a friend pay $20,000 more on a property because of his agent games. Reach out to him with the link below. It'll be the best property investment you will ever make.
Good work, Joe, and thanks to Chris for putting that together for us. I don't know how. Yeah, I think Chris put that together for us.
Fantastic little video. Yeah, thank you, Chris. Great.
So I wanted to. I'll ask a question about development. So you kind of. Before we kind of, I want to know what it is about someone. And you don't have to mention. I don't want to hear out the course names. But what is it about those courses that you felt it was actual practical kind of application? Is that what you felt was really missing?
Yeah, most of them were. It's very easy in hindsight, and you're right. I won't name any of them, okay? But most of them are a sausage factory to tease you into buying into the next level of program. Okay, so they'll tease you in with a 2 or a 3 day workshop. Where you go, it's only $1,000 or $2,000 or whatever it is to get in. And then they go, I'm going to teach you everything humanly possible. And then you turn up, and on the last day they go, actually, that's just tip of the iceberg. What you really need is blah. And then they'll upsell you to the next thing, right? And then when you're in that, they'll then try to upsell you into the next thing. And so I found that it was this almost a pyramid scheme to try and get you sucked into the vortex of going up to the pinnacle of, paying massive amounts of money for the program, all the while with the tease that, hey, there's something more to learn. And do you know what? There always is something more to learn. I have, I mentor people, but I have 2 mentors. My mentors have mentors. Like it is something that if you don't have a thirst for knowledge, then you're not moving forward. So you'll never know everything, but they rely on that to, I guess, go through the sales pitch process. And in doing so, they were very deliberately leaving breadcrumbs and fishhooks of stuff out, so that the actual stuff that you needed was in the next program. Okay, whereas I just wanted the stuff, right? I'm a very pragmatic guy. Just tell me how to do it. I'll go do it. And by the time you pay $25,000, $30,000, $40,000 for some programs that I paid, and you're still going, where's the stuff?
Yeah, I got a lot of papers here. What's this big binder? But where is the actual content?
Yeah,
where is the
I can
stuff?
show you some really nice compendiums I've got. A lovely jacket.
I went to a really fancy restaurant last night with some VIPs.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
And so it's always the promise of, and I'm going to say the overpromise of what financial freedom is. And that's probably the biggest hype in the whole thing is the overpromise of what financial freedom is. And if I can share another life hack right now, financial freedom is not leaning against your Ferrari, and it's not standing in front of a Learjet, and it's not standing in front of a giant mansion. It is enough passive income to pay for your lifestyle. Okay, so pay for your debts, put food on the table, fuel in the car, send the kids to school. That's all you need, right? And when most people do their budget, the average Aussie income is $80,000 a year. So we are mostly living within our means. So we don't need a huge amount of passive income to keep the lifestyle we've got. Once you have that passive income, you don't need to work anymore. Like your lifestyle's paid for. Everything above that is just the frills.
So how do we expedite this? How do we? It sounds like property development is the way. But property development's very risky.
Okay, so absolutely, property development is risky. But Joe, so is crossing the road. And you were taught that if you look left and you look right and you look left again when you're a kid, that you can navigate the risk. Okay. Now the risk is still real, but you can cross the road safely now. And so the same thing happens with property development. You've got to learn how to look left, how to look right, how to look left again. The risk will still be there, but you'll have a management plan and you'll be able to mitigate the risk as much as possible. You can never eliminate it. It's impossible to eliminate it. Okay. But then you have a measure of, well, what is the risk versus the reward? Am I willing to take that on? Everyone's got a different risk profile with regards to that. But absolutely, is it risky? Yes.
Such a great way to put risk. I've never thought about it in that way. Like just crossing the road. It is very risky. You're going to get in trouble, but if you look left, you look right, you're going to be absolutely fine. How do you measure someone's risk? So you get a client, you get someone that you're consulting with or helping out, mentoring. How do you actually determine, this is your risk profile? Development's not for you, or development is for you. You need to simmer down a little bit.
Well, that is not within my legal remit to determine their risk profile. You need to have a financial services license to do that. That is not what I have. It's not what I do. All I can do is highlight the pros and cons of what it is that they are doing.
Yeah.
It is then up to them to make that decision for themselves. There's
some tests you can do online, isn't there? There's like Well,
Rob is 100% right there. I mean, having worked in the industry for probably 10 years, I can 100% say. I mean, there are metrics and tools out there which, I don't know, they ask you like, how would you feel if you lost money, or if you lost, and then it actually happens, and then people are like, crap, I didn't actually feel comfortable losing that amount of money. So, I mean, I would question how accurate those tools actually are, but yeah.
I'll tell you how to tell. When the deal's on the table, when it's an absolute no-brainer, and when the sphincter factor is 9.5 and you pull the trigger, that's when I know your risk factor.
My lack of kind of knowledge. What's a sphincter factor, bro? Do you know what a sphincter factor is?
Come on.
I don't know everything, Joey. Come on, I can't know.
This is like the only thing you should not have asked what that meant.
Okay, so it's when your pupil valve is working overtime, Jeff.
Oh, okay. I should have just Googled that later, but
yeah. Yes, you should have. Yes, you should have. Okay, so we need to have a little bit of a higher risk profile in terms of property development. How much cash do we need? How much money? How much moolah? And how much time do we need? I'm asking the basic.
I hate that question because it's a loaded question, Joe. It comes from a indoctrinated belief that you need money to do anything.
Make money, which you don't.
You need money to make money. It's an indoctrinated belief that we all have. The reality is that's bullshit. Okay, your lack of resources should not stop you from being resourceful.
Mm-hmm.
When you actually understand what it takes to run a deal, there is money required, absolutely, but it doesn't have to be yours. Right? And when you actually understand the different dynamics of what happens with a deal, you can find ways with the appropriate terms that you can either defer costs, you can avoid costs, you can eliminate them altogether, you can push them to the tail end. There's all sorts of fancy ways to make money out of thin air. Would you like just one? I teach 7 no money down ways. Would you like just one?
Could you give us 2, or is 2 too?
No,
is that too
yeah, I want.
No, give you one. That's all you get.
Well, I wanted to do a no money down deal. So if I could
Yeah, exactly. You've just got 100% profit on that one.
So let's
one will be great.
Let's imagine a hypothetical deal.
Yep.
Yeah.
The property is worth $1 million.
Yep.
Okay. The project is going to take about 12 months to run.
Yep.
Now, you've got a choice. You could pay $1 million to the vendor today, or you could say, what if I could convince you to wait for the money and I pay you later on, but I could pay you more? Now, when you start to look at that,
sorry, go.
When you start to look at the deal, the way most people would do the deal, they would fund the deal, they would purchase the deal, they would service the deal, they would pay all the holding costs and everything along the way. So if you look at the deal in a traditional way, you've got rates, you've got land tax, you've got interest, you've got a whole bunch of holding costs that would actually be accumulated into that deal. And if you said to the vendor, well, all of those costs I would pay to the Office of State Revenue, I would pay to the council, I would pay to the Commonwealth Bank, I would pay to all these other people. What if I instead just gave it to you if you could be prepared to wait for it?
Yeah.
Now, your project won't cost you any more, but instead the vendor gets paid more money, so you can pay above market price. You get access to the property straight away. You can run the deal. And if your deal is going to take 12 months, by the time you actually do it, usually the holding costs are somewhere between 8 and 10% of the project. You might be able to give them a 10% uplift and sell the finished product before you own the property in the first place. And you use the income from the sale of the finished product to pay for the property. Oh,
yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah. Is that one called? Is that an option? Would you call an option agreement?
No, that is delayed settlement with early access.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Now, don't start me on options.
Knockdown.
Oh yeah,
knockdown rights.
Do not start me on.
You could do it for, a portion of the property, right? If someone's, we've got an old Diddy in her house, she's got $1 million property and she wants to buy another one, you can say, hey, take $500,000 and then get, maybe not, and get another mortgage. So you can split it up in so many ways, not just 100%, but it could be 50% or 80% or whatever the deal needs.
Keep it simple, Jeff.
Okay. Jeff asked for 2. Here's the second one. No more. That's it. That's all you get.
No, I promise.
Okay, so how many people do you think are out there that have purchased their property 20 plus years ago? They paid not much for it. They've actually paid it off, but they're sitting in a 70s brick veneer or fibro shack, sometimes asbestos riddled house. The market has created so much equity for them that they are on paper millionaires, but they're living a pauper lifestyle.
Yeah.
There's a bucket load of those people sitting out there, especially in the Sydney market and the Melbourne market.
Yeah.
Now, what if you said to them, hey, I can give you a brand spanking new property worth exactly the same amount of money as what you are today. But what we're going to do is we're going to put a duplex here. You're going to get one half and I'm going to get the other half. You are effectively giving them a brand spanking new build at the cost of construction of one half of the property. And you're getting in exchange for that the vacant land on the other side, where you're going to build a second house and you're going to sell that off for a profit. So you're getting access to the land. They're getting something brand new. They're getting to live the lifestyle of which their asset value is actually worth. But you get the profit. You get the benefit of the profit out of that as well.
And then how does the deal work? Like, how do you sell that? Do you buy it off them straight away, or like, how does that?
Well, you're not buying it off them. You're actually working with them. They effectively become your joint venture partner in the process. So you're doing a joint venture with the landowner. Yeah,
and you go and write it in a like a joint venture agreement. You have the heads of agreement, and you get it all take it to a solicitor, all certified. Everybody's very clear on the expectations and obligations and all that sort of stuff as well on both parties.
So, but the cost of constructing that half of the dwelling might be $400K, might be $450K, but you're getting access to effectively, I guess, $1.5 million worth of property. Like the numbers are just crazy, and the person is happy because they're getting a brand spanking new building that doesn't need maintenance, doesn't need repairs. It's got a warranty, and they actually genuinely get to live the lifestyle that their asset has accumulated for them, and you get to benefit from the process without having to cash flow the deal.
How does that? I'm interested to know how does that? With that, would you bring? How would you be able to fund the construction side? Because obviously there's got to be some cost there. So, would that be from a sort of maybe a development finance, or are you looking money partners, or what sort of?
Well, everyone's starting position's different, Jeff. So I guess the answer to that is, it depends. But effectively, the asset itself, the underlying asset being the land, because they have owned it for so long, has so much equity in it, it's not funny. And so you can use that equity to actually guarantee the loan in order to fund it. So you only need a small amount of liquid cash to get all the development approvals to say, can we build it? Okay, so you're only talking about a fraction of the money. Then you use the equity in the property to actually do a commercial lend or even a residential lend with that equity sitting in there.
Yeah, that's I've heard that strategy. Every time I hear that, I'm like, that is just, why am I not doing more of this? I need more. Why aren't I doing some of it? Like, why am I going about it the hard way?
Yeah, why am I buying these things and holding them like an idiot?
Why am I buying and knocking them down and then using the? I mean, I suppose the way that you structure it, it's not. I mean, what are the challenges with doing it the way that you've just described? Because of course it is easy and easier, but what are some of the challenges? I'm interested.
Well, the challenges are that as a society we're indoctrinated that we have to sell a certain way. Okay, and so. If they're dealing with a real estate agent, the real estate agent's motive and incentive is I need a sale to get a commission, okay? So the real estate agent is driving the vendor down a very particular path, okay? And the path is for the outcome for the agent. It's not for the outcome for the owner. And so what we need to do is actually get face-to-face with the owner and say, actually, what is your issue? What is your challenge? What is your problem? How do I solve your needs? And if I can solve your needs, then I will get the outcome that I'm after because I've got a toolkit worth of different strategies that I can throw at this. And I'm not trying to just use one tool to kind of, throw at this every single time.
I'm not using a hammer to hammer a nail. Sometimes I might need to use a screwdriver.
Correct. But if the only tool you own is a hammer, then everything looks like a nail.
Yeah.
Right. And so we see people learn, very specific, I'm going to say acquisition strategies in order to acquire a property that are marketed as development strategies. and they're not. They're an acquisition model that convince people that the only way to acquire a property is using these tools. So I'm talking specifically about options contracts, okay? And these huge marketing and hype about, it's a massive development strategy. Well, it's a crock of shit. But what is a development strategy? Is it a subdivision? Is it a duplex? Is it a townhouse? That's the development strategy. The option strategy is how do I acquire it? And you could acquire it with an option. You could acquire it with a delayed settlement with early access. You could acquire it with a straight outright purchase. You could acquire it with a whole bunch of other things and still do the same development strategy. The problem is people don't learn how to develop. They don't learn the rules that can be done. So the development rules, what can be done is half of it. And then how you do it then comes down to, well, what's my starting position? And what are the needs of the vendor selling the property? And can I get a marriage between the two, right? And as soon as we can get the marriage between the two, then a deal happens.
I like it. That's, and you're very, very respectful of. I probably know some of the operators that talk option contracts. We won't
not name them.
Yeah, no, but I think we probably both. I mean, Joe might know.
They have very nice cars though, and beautiful jets that look like they have Photoshop names on them. But that's nice.
Hang on, Joe. Hang on. That's disparaging. They probably actually own that jet. Let's leave that there.
Okay. But so Joe, what do you do? You have, if you don't have any questions, I'm sure Joe's got 100 questions on development that he wants to ask. If not,
I'm kind of interested about how often do these type of deals happen? You've got all these awesome strategies, but do they actually happen in the real world very often?
Absolutely. But you've got to look at it from a very pragmatic approach, Joe. Not every deal you'll be able to negotiate the terms that you need. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's the is it developable question. So you have to go through a whole process of is the site developable. Then you have to go through is it profitable, and there's a whole process to determine is it profitable. And I already discussed that there's only 10% of them out there that are actually profitable. Then you've got to go, can I marry their needs and my needs? So when you start to do that, yes, there's a law of diminishing returns to say there's not many that are going to be the exact fit for you and the exact fit for them at the exact same time. That said, absolutely it can be done. And when you get it right, you can materialize money out of thin air.
Yeah, absolutely. Even if you're just you're a borrowing capacity partner, you've got
you don't even need to borrow, Joe. Like what Rob's talking about.
Situation. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So life hack number 3.
Go on then.
I think maybe 3 or 4. Maybe.
Treat us all. We should have ended this thing 7 minutes ago, so all of it's now free. We should have ended it 7 minutes ago. We've got 3 ways to make money without cash. We've got another couple left.
Life hack number 3. The ultimate goal in property development is to actually become a property investor.
Ooh, interesting.
Ooh.
Okay.
We've thrown a curveball.
I mean, I think I know where you're going with this, but tell us more. Tell us more, Rob. Tell us more.
What we're trying to do is we're trying to manufacture the profit to a deal size that's large enough where we get to own the profit as an entire property owned outright.
Yep.
At that point, the asset grows with the market passively. We don't have to do anything. At that point, the asset is going to give us 100% positive cash flow, and that is going to increase in time as the market grows in time. And so we can sit back and no matter what the market does, we don't care. So we're going to work hard in the short term so we don't have to work hard in the long term.
Yeah. So 30 years time, you're going to get a knock on the door because you're going to have an older place. It's been a while, and it's going to be a young property developer saying, "Hey, do you want a duplex now?"
Might even be an old one, mate. So do you want to know the magic formula in order to keep a property owned outright, free and clear?
Let's do it. I think I know, but yeah, give
taking the bait.
Okay. So there's a loaded question that I'm going to ask you guys, okay?
Okay.
What is the stereotypical profit on cost that you hear that every developer needs to make in order to make a deal happen?
20%.
20%. Absolutely. So loaded
Got to be
question.
done.
20%. So let's assume that 20% number.
Mm-hmm.
If we assume 20%, then there is a magic number of 6, okay? If I can do 6 of anything, then if I sell 5, it pays for the costs, and the 6th one is free.
Buy one, get one free. I love
buy 5, get one free.
Buy 5, buy 6, buy 5, get one free. I suppose buy one, get one free.
Now, so if you get a deal that's 25%, then you only need 5 properties. If you do a deal that's 30%, you only need 4 properties. Okay, but the concept is you want to do a deal that is large enough that you get to keep the profits. Okay, and if you get to keep the profits, not tax advice, but you don't pay tax until you realize your profit. Now, why would you realize your profit if you're not selling it? Which means you get to keep 100% of the profit in the deal. That's 100% of the profit that grows with the market over time. That is 100% of everything growing. So the ultimate goal is to not sell and keep your profit.
And just keep cycling it through.
You do 3 or 4 of them, and I touched on before, average Aussie income is 80K per year. You do 3 of them, 4 of them, 3 of them is about 75K passive income a year, 4 of them is about 100K passive income a year. You never need to work again.
So are you meaning along the journey you're not selling any of these developments that you're accruing, or are you saying that
in the early days you're absolutely going to have to turn them over? Okay, you need velocity of money in the early days. You're building the skills, you're building the muscle, you're building the nest egg. But what you're trying to do is as you start to scale, so you want to get a development strategy that is scalable, right? And there's only 2 development paths that are scalable. Okay. So there is a subdivision path and there is a multi-residence path. The multi-res is townhouses or unit complexes. Okay. So both of them, you can start at a 1:2, then move up to 1:3, then move up to 1:4, move it to 1:5, etc. So they can scale. So land subdivisions, they scale horizontally. You need more land to do that. Townhouses, they scale horizontally. You need more land to do that. Apartment complexes, they scale vertically. You just keep going up higher and higher. Okay. As soon as you can scale your projects, what you're trying to do is you're trying to build on the skill that you did on the project before. So I did a 1:2. I should be able to easily learn how to do a 1:3. If I can do a 1:3, I can easily do a 1:4 until you can get to 6. Right? That's all you need. Right. So it only takes you 2 or 3 deals to get to the point where you have the skills and the budget to actually do a deal where you can keep one. As soon as you've got a deal where you can keep one, you've got an asset that is owned 100% outright. You've got an income stream that is 100% owned outright. Now you can leverage that and you can do a slightly bigger deal. Next deal, you might be able to keep 2. Doesn't take you long, guys, to actually get yourself financially free.
So how do you get to that? How do you get started on the journey? You know, actually, maybe that's not. What are actually the points along the road? Because I feel like you do have to start with buy and hold resident. Like you've got to get a transaction under your belt first, and then move up. Are there? Well, tell me, Rob.
What's the question, Joe? I mean, you don't have to do anything.
So what's the question? What's the question?
I don't know.
Well, what are the points? So the way, okay, so I'll give you a bit of an understanding of what I'm doing with my portfolio, and you can critique it how you feel. So I'm buying up an asset base of properties that have development potential until I run out of borrowing capacity. Yeah, and then I will start to getting development deals and develop on said properties, and then sell them, and then build up an asset base to then. And then get into development, and then eventually down the line into commercial assets.
Okay, so
that's for me is very clear steps, right? It's
for you specifically, Joe, and not legal advice, not accounting advice, not financial advice.
Absolutely not.
You have done a very smart thing. Okay, so from an investment point of view, you aren't yet skilled, you aren't yet knowledgeable, you aren't yet resourced and tooled to go into development, but you have bought something with development potential, which means that as it is growing in equity and as it is growing in space, it is eventually going to get to a point where there's enough soft equity in there that you could probably do that development in a whole bunch of ways. You could find someone like me to say, hey, Rob, can I do a joint venture with you and we'll share the profits? Right? And you don't have to do anything. So you don't have to know how to develop and we'll share the profits. You could go and educate yourself and go, well, I'm going to learn to do it myself and I'm going to execute that myself, right? Or you could just go, hey, I'm lazy. I'm just going to sell it to a developer and try and cash in at a. So you've got a whole bunch of options as to how you can actually maximize that. Okay, so you've done that smart. So if you're going to start with property investing, which is where a lot of people start to understand where is the demand going to be. Okay, demand is going to be where population growth is going to go, where density is going to go. What are the opportunities? Sorry, my phone is ringing, so I'll just push that out. What are the opportunities to say, look, I can't afford to do that today. I don't have the time. I don't have the effort. I don't have the skills today. But I know that if I buy at this point in time, the city is going to grow towards me, and eventually this is going to be something in high demand. Now, that still takes knowledge. It still takes skill, but you have the benefit of time working for you, okay? And at some point in the future, you then have to work out, do I want to be passive? I'm going to sell it. Do I want to be semi-passive? I'm going to joint venture with someone else who's going to do it for me, and I'm going to check on their capabilities and skills and that sort of thing. Or am I going to be active, in which case I'm going to learn how to do it and do it myself. Okay, so you've got a few different options available to you.
But thank you for the ego boost. I do feel much better now. I'm glad that went well.
Free coaching there, Joe.
Now Jeff, on the other hand, he's got no idea. So he's got completely wrong.
But that's exactly what I say, right? Like that's exactly it, right? It gives you don't have to be an absolute expert at development right now, but if you just buy a small unit in a thing and there's no value add potential, then it's going to be a little bit difficult to be able to.
What I would qualify that, Joe, by saying you still need some basic education in understanding the development potential of the site, because the zoning that you get is the maximum potential of a site. It is not the reality of what's actually achievable. There's a whole bunch of constraints that apply to that site to say whether or not that potential will ever be achieved. So if you don't understand how to read those constraints, if you don't understand how to assess the site, you may have bought yourself a dud that is zoned really good. And as a perfect example, in my property development formula course, one of the sites that I get our guys to very deliberately assess is a site that is zoned for 15 stories. Now, don't tell them, but when you actually understand the constraints, it is actually capable of 0.
Wow.
Now, the real estate agent is going to tell you it's capable of 15 stories, and so you're going to pay through the roof. And when you look at the constraints, 0 stories capable.
What is was it the offset? I mean the setbacks or what?
No, there's a whole bunch of stuff that goes into that. That is
triggers.
That's a whole 12-month program, my friend.
Possibly to do with the SEP or the LEP. I mean, I shouldn't throw these terms out there, but.
So, and what you're talking about, Jeff, there is very specific New South Wales terms, noting that you have a national audience. Every single state has different legislation. Every single state has different terminology. But yes, what you're looking at.
Where do we start with that? How do we start to get that information from the council, the state government? How do we do it?
Without giving away absolutely everything, your state government, they have a look at a whole bunch of demographics, and they have a look at where is population going, what is going to happen, because they have to budget for highways, they have to budget for schools, they have to budget for hospitals, they have to budget for a whole bunch of multi-billion-dollar projects. So they're looking at things like that, and they're going, well, how do I herd the cats so that I can put them in an area where I'm not building hospitals everywhere and I'm not building highways everywhere? And so when you start to understand where the state government's starting to push people, they give you a 20 or 30-year roadmap of how they're going to start to herd the cats and steer the Titanic in a very particular direction. Now, where that direction goes then falls down from state government down to local government. Now, the local government is going to go, well, the population's coming here, but am I ready to receive it? Right? And so they have their own strategic plans about how am I actually going to deal with that growth patterns and that sort of thing. So there's layers of legislation that we need to actually understand to go, well, I know where they're going, but have they started going there? Is the area ready for taking it? And more importantly than everything else, is there evidence of success that someone else has done it before me to prove that my project is going to be profitable?
A track record.
That's a very good point, because you might see a couple of developments and be like, oh, well, this place is overdeveloped because there's so many people here. Well, maybe it's only just the tip of the iceberg, and it's probably a good place to do because these guys have proven that they've got an opportunity. You don't want to be that first guy
make money, though?
Testing the market.
You don't want to be the bleeding edge, and you don't want to be the guy that turns the lights out. You want to be somewhere in the middle.
So, and how long is that time frame? What is what's the leading edge? For any particular market, it's somewhere between 5 and 10 years.
Interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, I think we might have to end up doing a round 2, Joe, because we're already at an hour 20, and I promised Rob an hour.
How much of that bottle is left, Rob?
We haven't gone far.
Well, I mean, I could probably. I would have to take a break if we're going to go much longer. But I think that usually there's probably a whole bunch of questions that come through, and I wanted to be respectful of your time. We can keep digging into these topics if you want, though, Rob. How you going? You keen,
mate? What I'm going to suggest is, and I'm mindful of your listeners at 9 p.m. at night starting to dwindle. What I'm going to suggest is, why don't we come back and have a round 2? How's that? And then we can go on for another couple of hours, and we can knock this bottle all the way out. How's that?
Well, I think the audience is actually going up. So you're not. I mean, they're not. I think we have to start the show later. But
everyone that has been watching and enjoying the show, which I'm sure you have, this hasn't been the typical property show I'm sure you've been on, Rob, either. Pop in your questions in the comments, right? Any questions that you've got in the development side of things, Rob is going to give us a good share of value. I'm absolutely sure we're going to get
a massive share of value, Joe. Pump it up, like you get people to throw their questions, their comments, their likes, everything.
It's up to them. I don't, if you put them there. Up to you. So your destiny is in your hands.
To our one listener, if you ask the one question, we're here for you.
Yeah. No.
Hang on, let me just turn off I'll just turn off my Facebook. Oh, there's none.
Okay, there's no listeners anymore. Okay. So, mate, what I'd love to do is, as you guys know, we run a networking group all the way around. So in 3 states of the country. So Brisbane, Sydney, and Melbourne. Okay. So every month we run a meetup where we have industry experts. We have people sharing real deals. We run masterminding processes that try to recreate that kitchen table experience. What I'd love to do is give your audience the ability to come to one of our events for a single $1, right? And for an entire month. If you guys are keen with that, so I've given you a $1.
I think a lot of them are virtual at the moment. I mean, depending on, maybe I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's a good question. Is it virtual or is it face-to-face?
Well, it depends on where you are. So typically we run these as a physical event, but obviously Sydney and Melbourne are in a lockdown of sorts.
Adelaide as well. You're going to go to Adelaide, that's right.
Not yet, Jeff. Give it time.
When are you going to Adelaide?
Well, how many listeners you got? So for $1, they can come to all of the meetups that we run for a month. So they can come to all three. So they would, if they're physically in Brisbane, they can attend. If the borders are opened up, if the restrictions are opened up in Melbourne, we should be able to run physical for next month as well. But likely Sydney will be virtual, unfortunately. But all three, they can turn up virtually for a single $1 for 3 months, for the month. Plus they get access to our entire back catalogue of every single meetup we've ever run since 2012, all our PowerPoint slides, the whole lot for $1 for a 1 month trial.
Have you got the kitchen table in there as well? Have you got the?
I have a set of steak knives.
So it's carve out some time with Rob.
So you've got a link there, Jeff. So for those who can't type or copy and paste, it's propdev.info/API, which I think
I just dropped a couple of. So Rob mentioned some of this before, and I've been to Rob's meetup events, and I just met some great people and all that sort of thing, and that's one of the reasons why I want to get Rob on. The other thing I've put down in the comments right now is Rob's group, Property Developer Network, which is, I would say, it's a very effectively. It's probably, there's not many groups out there that run as well as ours. Like a lot of groups, you sort of start to see people like PMing each other, and there's everybody trying to sell properties left, right, and center. Your group is very vigilant on that as well. I'm impressed.
Yeah, we cut down on the sales. Anyone who tries to self-promote and the like, we cut down and we eliminate very, very quickly. And it's all about the community trying to help the community. So it's, how do I help others? Because if I can help you, then at some point you're going to help someone else. And, Jeff, you'll help Joe. Joe, you'll help Steve. Steve will help Mary. Mary will help me. So we know that cycle of life will actually happen. So it's all about how do we pay it forward and help others first.
Yeah, well, this is the biggest thing as well, is that I don't have anyone in my immediate network that likes property, that is into property, that loves talking about property as much as I do. And you need these little these little communities to be able to grow your network and keep talking about it. Like every single week, I'm now talking to Jeff, talking about property, talking about deals, and things start to snowball and progress. But if you don't have that community, you don't get involved and have that education, it's just going to be very, very difficult for you to make those next steps.
Life hack number 4.
Oh, Jesus.
As humans, we are a herd pack. And so the people that you hang around are trying to protect you and bring you back into the herd. So if they do not do property, as soon as you mention property, they're going to say property is a bad thing. And so they're going to protect you and try and say, come back to the herd, don't do that. What you need to do is find a better herd. Now, if you go to the right herd, that herd is going to protect you. And every time you talk property, they're going to reinforce that. And when you start to stray away, they're going to go, hey, come back, Joe. Come back to the herd and talk property again. So you need to find a better herd. That's what it is. Okay. And we can have different herds for different things, but it's understanding where those herds fit and knowing how and when to raise different issues and topics with different herds.
And thanks very much for being so generous. There is another link that I popped down, which is your development strategies that you spoke about tonight. What I want to do is, I think there's probably a whole heap of questions that we should address. It's nearly an hour 30, but if you're okay staying on for an extra 10 minutes, Rob, you got a drink there. You can keep yourself well. Oh, you do? Yeah, cool. We're good. Okay,
tide's fly, mate. I may not make as much sense a little later in the show, but let's see.
Yeah. So with the first, I'm going to tune over to the comments now. So this is the first. We always love Rob sharing, great session. So somebody said, how do you? I'm going to look up who this is, because I like to acknowledge people that ask questions. So we probably have 3 questions, because I want to. So first one is, it's Facebook user. I'll find out who asked this. we got it up on the screen. How do you know before you purchase a property if it has potential for development? Is there a formula? Does it depend on size? Does size matter? I mean, I just want to say that.
Mate, despite what your girlfriend tells you, size does matter. It's a combination. It's a combination of your the size of the land, the zoning of the land, and I guess a number of constraints that may apply to the land. So there are a number of constraints that are both local government and state government and federal government that may apply that will limit that potential. So the most obvious one are things that are called an overlay. So an overlay is most people would understand that when you look at Google Maps, you turn on the satellite view, that's an overlay. That is an additional piece of information that sits on top of the baseline data that sits underneath, okay? So when you start to apply those overlays, council can apply a whole bunch of restrictions that will determine whether or not you can do it. So it could be flooding, could be bushfire, could be character protection. It could be a whole bunch of things like that well, actually, it doesn't matter what the zoning says. We're not allowed to do that because there's something actually happening to that site. Then you've got the physical logistics of the site. So the contours, how much is the slope? Which direction is the slope going? Where are the physical services located underneath it? Because you've got to put water onto the site. You've got to get stormwater off of the site. You've got to get sewer off of the site. You need to put electricity onto the site. You need to get telecommunications onto the site. When you start to look at the logistics of the site, sometimes it just can't be done. So when you start to look at all of those things, it doesn't matter what the zoning says the potential is. There's a whole bunch of things that say that potential will never be met.
Yeah, I think that was going to be my 2.0, Rob says. So I'd love to actually dive. I know you've got a lot of secrets. Not a lot of secrets.
So we got another question here that talks about the key people in your kind of A team or dream team. So who are the key people involved in a development?
So I'm going to say there are 6 people that you absolutely categorically must have in your team. So accountant. They are going to give you taxation advice and structuring advice. Your solicitor, they're going to give you asset protection and structuring advice. The two of them are not going to tell you the same thing because
that's exactly what I was just thinking. I'm like, oh, that's a tough one.
One of them is going to tell you how to minimize your tax, and the other one's how to protect your assets. Okay. Yeah. Now, at different parts of your journey, you're going to want different outcomes. In the early days, you have no money. Asset protection is probably not that important. So tax minimization is probably pretty key. But as you start to earn money, as you get a nest egg, as you've actually got some assets, you're going to start to care, and asset protection is going to become more and more important. So you're going to start to change your view of things as you go a little bit further into the journey. So those 2 guys are really important with regards to what structure you actually do up front. Yep. Then you've got your town planner. Town planner is going to tell you what can be done. Now, remember, town planner will tell you the rules that comply. They will tell you the likelihood of success of the approval, but they have absolutely no idea about the profitability of the deal. That is 100% on you, okay? Their incentive is to get you an approval. They don't care if that approval is profitable. You're then going to have an architect. An architect is going to design the solution that's going to look pretty, is going to be hopefully saleable and hopefully commercially constructible to the point where it's actually profitable. You're going to have a surveyor. Surveyor is going to measure how much land you actually have despite what is on title, because they're not always the same thing. They're going to measure the contours, which direction things are going, what angle of slope they are, because the architect needs that in order to lay his plans on the site appropriately. The surveyor also is going to provide information through to your civil engineer, and your civil engineer is going to work out whether or not you can get water onto the site. They're going to understand whether or not you can get sewer off of the site. They're going to understand whether or not you can get stormwater off of the site, and a whole bunch of other things like that. So those 6 are really your A team.
So what have we got? Okay. Accountant, solicitor, town planner, civil engineer, surveyor,
and civil engineer.
Oh.
Did I say that?
Did I say that? Where are we, Jeff? Hang on. I feel like Jeff's the only one not drinking.
No, I was. That's why I said if we're going to... we need to take a break.
Yeah. Okay. There's some people that need to be on your team. And if you don't get those people... So this is actually a really good point around sharing, and you can't do everything by yourself. When I first started property investing, I picked up the Jans up. I picked up all the books and I was like, man, I don't need anybody. I can do this all by myself. I can get started. I can go and just do it all by myself. I don't need anybody. You then start to realize there is money to be made when you work together, when you work with people that have a common goal and you can go for it. There is a
life hack number 5. Here we go.
Look at this.
Property development, it's a team sport.
I thought you were about to say you are the average of the 5.
I actually wrote this down this morning on my little run. I was listening to an audio book, and I'm not going to be able to. It's in under quotes and phrases, and I didn't write it down. But there's a thing called. I remember it was this morning, and I remember it. Yeah, this is fantastic. Has anyone heard of the Belgian horse? It is the strongest horse in the world, and it can pull.
I think I have. Yeah, I've heard this story. 8,000.
It can pull 8,000 pounds worth of weight. If you get 2 Belgian horses next to each other, they don't pull 1,600 pounds of weight. They pull 20,000 pounds of weight. So you're putting 1 and 1. It doesn't necessarily equal 2. If you bring up those 2 Belgian horses next to each other through, as a team, and they grow up together, they can pull 30,000 pounds worth of weight. So it's not just, you can't just have these things siloed. All of the team members need to be speaking to each other and communicating each other and driving towards the same goal.
Yeah,
meshing together. I love that analogy.
I don't know. Let's get to. Can we ask 1 or 2 more questions and then let's.
I thought that was fantastic. Sorry,
it was good. It was good, Joe.
Come on, no, it absolutely was, Joe, and you're right. So 1 + 1 does not equal 2. 1 + 1 does not equal 2. Architect. I said that architect.
What it was? No, you did. It's I skipped it. Yeah.
So I think I know the answer to this one. I'm curious to know who asked it, but somebody said potential for a large-scale build-to-rent. I remember being at a meetup and this being a heated discussion because I think it was It was Davina when Davina presented. So what are your thoughts on that? Or you don't really have much of a thought? This is Braden Curry.
Oh.
So hang on. So this is a loaded question. So can you bring it up again?
Oh yeah. Yep. Go. Yep.
Mate, Braden's on next week, so you can rip into him all you want next week.
Okay, so potential for large-scale build-to-rent in Australia. So, or is selling individual units too profitable? Okay, I'm not sure I actually understand the question. There seems more of a statement. What I would say is the ultimate goal is to not sell everything. The ultimate goal is to actually own assets. So build to rent, whatever it might be, whether it be a one house that you rent, whether it be a rooming accommodation that you rent, whether it be a townhouse that you rent, the whole idea is to keep an asset that generates passive income. So I am absolutely categorically a property investor first. Mm-hmm. I happen to manufacture my investments at wholesale rate.
Yeah, I love that.
And when you start to look at that, then it comes down to, well, what is the specialty that I want to specialize in from the rent that I want to generate? Do I want to generate on a house? Do I want to generate on a townhouse? Do I want to generate on a rent per room? Do I want to generate on an NDIS? Now, every single one of them is a niche in and of themselves. The challenge is that most people look at all of them and go, wow, I'm going to be jack of all trades and master of none. What I'm going to tell you categorically is they all work. Pick one. I don't care which one. They all fucking work.
But it's like going to the ice cream shop, though, and I've got 50 flavors in front of me, and how do I know which one I want to pick?
And this is the problem. They give you a little toothpick, and you got to sample all of them.
Yeah.
So stop it. Pick one. Lock it in. I don't care what it is. Lock it in and get friggin' good at it. Because what happens is we look at all of these things and we get to know them this big, right? Really thin. If you tip it on its head and I know one thing, I get to know it really deep, right?
Yeah.
Now, it doesn't matter what you choose. They all work, but get good at it.
Yeah. Dig a hole 1 meter deep rather than 1 inch deep. One
inch
wide,
mile deep.
Yep, there you go. You said it better than me. So one last. I think this is a funny question. That's not funny, but it's an interesting one that I think I've seen a couple of people ask. So I kind of want to hear the way that if your answer to this has changed, because I don't think it has. But somebody wants. This is Jerry. Jerry's a great supporter of the show. She's almost on every week, I would say. She wants to know. Actually, that's not. Sorry, that was Sean.
I'm thinking there's a great question in that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So thank you, Sean.
If we found a development, could we bring it to Rob? I think how profitable is it? Is the question.
So I'm gonna answer this as much as I can with respect and kindness. I have a very, very, very large network, and if I had the bandwidth to answer everybody, I would absolutely love to, but I can't. There is just so many hours in a day, and my wife likes me, my daughter likes me. I want to have them still liking me, so I have to choose how I spend my time. And so I have chosen that the people that go through my education program, they are the ones that get the dedicated time. And if you come through my education program, can you bring me a deal? Absolutely, categorically, and I will help you with every ounce of effort that I have. But if you are just somebody that breezes by in my life, will I give you energy? I would love to, because I care, but I can't.
Diplomatic.
Yeah, that's a good answer. That's a good and fair answer. I like it. You're very clear. I love it.
So if you're I mean, I think we've already kind of covered this question, but what are maybe your go-to developments nowadays, and what should be the go-to development for someone just starting out?
Okay. So
you love my questions. You just love my questions.
That's a loaded question. Okay. Because what is right for me is not right for everybody else. So I'm going to start with that.
Oh no, yeah, of course. But it's interesting to see like where you get to. You know what I mean? Like it's aspirational to be able to say, "Oh wow, I would love to get to where Rob is now, seeing his bread and butter kind of every day type of thing."
So there are two fundamental strategies that are scalable. Okay, there are thousands of development strategies that all work, and I'm not going to poo-poo any of them. So they're all fantastic. But there's only two strategies that are scalable. If I start with something small, can I learn from that? Can I build on that? And can I make it slightly bigger? Can I make that slightly bigger again? Can I make that slightly bigger? And can I eventually keep something? There's only two approaches: land subdivisions and multi-resident developments. So they might be townhouses, they might be units. Okay, either one are actually are fine. So when you look at those two approaches, they have different pros and cons that go for them. Mm-hmm. Now, if you look at the multi-res approach, whether they be units or apartments, when you get an approval for a multi-res, you tend to be building a lot of something. And because you're building a lot of something, the cash rewards are very large. It's like drinking from a fire hose, but also the cash investment is also very large. So not everyone is capable of running a project as big as that. Okay. Now, the flexibility of that is also I build all of it or I build none of it. So am I selling it as a development approved stock or am I selling it as a finished stock? You don't really have any choice. It's a all in or none in.
Yep.
If you look at land subdivisions are a lot more flexible. I could sell vacant land. I could sell house and land. I could sell a finished house. Right. So you've got a few different ways. Now, if you've got multiple lots, let's just say you've got the magic 6 that we were talking about before. You might sell 3 of them as vacant land and 2 of them as house and land and 1 of them as a house, right? So you've got a bit of flexibility in how you exit the stock. So from a flexibility perspective, land subdivisions are way more flexible than any other strategy. But if you want to go out big and you want to go out fast, townhouses or apartments, they'll get you there much, much, much faster. So if you've got the cash, if you've got the kahunas, go multi-res. If you need to take your time, if you need the flexibility, go land subdivisions. But whatever you do, lock one strategy in and stick the course.
Yeah,
love it. Yeah. I think we should end on that. Or unless you've got one, Jeff.
No. I just want to say I really appreciate you picking up the phone to me a couple of years ago, Rob, when you're probably a little less busy than what you are now, and just appreciate you spending half an hour, I think it was, maybe even 45 minutes. You were just adding the value then, and throughout your community, it's amazing to have seen it grow. And I still keep in contact with Pete. I still keep in contact with Peter Trung, Scott Fixter. So 2 students I know. I saw Scott the other day. They're doing amazing things. So good on you for doing what you've done and spending an hour and nearly 2 hours with us now. So thanks for
46, 13 seconds, 14 seconds, and counting.
How do people learn more from you, Rob? How do we do it? I mean, there's obviously attend the $1 session, but how do we get in contact?
Okay, so we run a multitude of different ways that we can engage with our community. So firstly, there's our Facebook group, so Property Developer Network. If you search Facebook for Property Developer Network, you'll find our page and you will also find our group. Now, our page is where we give you news and announcements and things like that. Our group is where you can actually engage with the community, and the community will try to help you with your issues and challenges. And they're a very, loving, caring, pay it forward type approach community. That is free. Both of those are free. If you have a small amount of investment, then we have our monthly meetups that we run in 3 states, Brisbane, Sydney, and Melbourne. They are $25 to attend an individual session. Although for the link that you've got, $1 to trial it for a month, come to 3 events for $1. But we also have annual memberships where if you like what we've got, you can come to every event all the way around the country, look at all of our back catalogue and a whole bunch of things for about $250. So relatively cheap price points. And we also run secondary communities. We run a product called RenoSave, which is the bulk purchasing power of our community, where we've got massive discounts on lighting, flooring, tiling, electrical, and a whole bunch more. We've got 40 odd suppliers where we got thousands and thousands of discounts. You can engage in that community and buy that. We've got access to, Bunnings, Wattle, Carpet Call, a whole, National Tiles, a whole bunch of the suppliers that you're going to be using in your projects, whether you are renovating, whether you are buy and hold, etc. We've got a sister site called Development Site Deal Hub, where we do off-market transactions. People find deals that are profitable, but they may not have the cash. They'll offline it for a finder's fee, or they'll look for investors. We've got a whole, a bucket load of ways to actually engage in our community. Or you can come to developernetwork.com.au, and that's kind of the portal where you jump off to kind of everything that we've got, including our meetups, etc. So however you want to engage, we've got ways to try and help you out on your journey, whether you want to just kind of dabble your feet or whether you want to go all the way in.
I've dropped those all in the comments below, so people will be able to check those out, check the group, and it's a great group. It's really filled with people that are just helping people out as well along their development journeys.
Yeah, and I kind of like, if you are interested in property development, our group is fantastic for the beginning stages of building your portfolio up. But when it comes to development, you're going to need to take that next step. So I feel like this is going to be a good place to point you. We don't put people on this platform. We vet a lot of people very good. We've had a lot of people reach out saying, hey, I want to get on, that we will never, ever have on. Rob Flux is definitely one of those people we're going to keep getting on because we love the stuff that you're doing, mate. We appreciate you taking the time and running through it all.
Thank you,
for the community.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it.
Hey, Joe, you want to finish this off? This is actually, wait. Should we?
No, we don't need that. We don't need the last
parting words. Does he have a sixth life hack? Perhaps?
No, he's got the seventh. We're waiting for number 7. You said there was 7 of 7.
You want number 6?
Oh,
Number six. Okay. And I did actually say this, but I didn't say it as a life hack. Do not let your lack of resources stop you from becoming resourceful. So irrespective of whatever your current situation is, there are ways that you can get around it. Okay. Ask yourself 3 words. How do I?
How do I? Or how can I? Same thing, I suppose. Yeah.
Whatever your situation is, do I go over it, around it, or through it? Whatever the problem is, how do I? Okay. Don't wallow in your own self-pity, but go, there's a solution to this. And as a property developer, you will make money by solving problems. So embrace problems. Know that if you can do that, if you can take on the problem and do that commercially, you will make money.
Yeah.
A little tool that actually, I'm going to throw a little life hack while we're here hacking away, is asking yourself, like, how do I do it? How do I do it? Like, yeah, you do that. And if you can't come up with an answer, ask yourself, what would Rob do? And that puts you in, like, maybe not Rob, but we'll ask what Rob would do in this situation for development. But in any situation, any part of it, ask what somebody else would do. And you kind of take on, oh, well, Rob obviously knows what to do. And he would just do this. Oh, crap, I just solved the problem that I needed to solve. So that helps. That's helped me along my kind of journey of being like, well, what would this person do? Oh, they would do this. And then I reach out to the person. I'm like, would you do this? They're like, yeah, I'd do that. Or whatever. Or they give you the advice. So anyway, thank you very much, Rob, for taking the time. We've spent nearly 2 hours. Thank you for everyone watching. It's great. We always have fun with our hour sessions that we book for people. So let's go buy development property.
Profitable development property.
Profitable. Oh,
Love it. Okay, let's end it up.